You're listening to the I Have Dreams, Dammit podcast, a podcast about the realities of pursuing dreams. I'm your host, Lisa Murray, and let's go.
Live from Los Angeles, California, this is the Lisa Murray Show, and with your host, Lisa Murray.
The day I felt like I really started living.
I don't have enough money to start this business.
I'm so tired. I hate it. I'm working all the time.
I'm not inspired when I'm worried about money.
Life is either a daring adventure or nothing at all.
I'm so sick of all these positive people talking about dreams. What about money? Like, how am I supposed to get the money?
What it's really about, it's about you pursuing what makes you come alive. It's about continually connecting with that energy and just keep doing that. Keep going towards that. That's what it's about. You need to give up. There's too many obstacles. I can't take this shit anymore. Ships are safe in the harbor, but that's not what ships are built for.
It feels really good to be my own boss.
I have dreams, damn it! Hi, everybody. Hope you're doing well. And I know it's been a crazy beginning of the year and just trying to stay focused on my projects and on building and strategizing for the year. I saw some people had like a word for the year, and I thought, I don't know if I could just do a word. I think for me, there's two words, of course. But I think it's strategize and what was the one? Commit. Like, I want to have really good strategy this year because there's a lot of things I'm trying to do, but I also want to be very committed to what that strategy is. And I think I have to stay flexible too. But if I can stay flexible within the commitment, with a good strategy, then I think I can achieve some, if not all, of my goals this year. So what is your word or words or phrase for 2021? I feel like I've been laying the groundwork for so many things I want to do. And now it's really just a matter of making sure I don't waste time on things that aren't going to move me forward. So that's what I'm really focusing on. I'm also trying to move out all the obstacles, little things, just little things, big things, anything that would stand in the way of me being able to keep my commitment to the action items that I need to do to stay committed to this strategy. So I feel good about it. There's a lot of good stuff, but we'll see. It's still January. So today I want to talk to you about what is balance. I was going to do a different topic today, and it's a topic I've been wanting to talk about for at least a month. But then this other thing just came in like a lightning bolt, and I can't get it out of my head. So I got to go with it. What is balance? When people say you have to have a balanced life, and I've seen, the other thing is like from burnout to balance. And I've been thinking about the times that I've burned out and why didn't I have balance? And I'm thinking, when in my life, what was going on? And I've always been not defensive, but in defense of, or I don't know what you say about it, but I've always said that I think we should live life fully. And so I think that we should go fully into the experience. And I live my life like that. And so like if I get a job, like when I got a job at the record label, I was fully in that. I learned so much. And, I wouldn't just say, oh, it's, 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, I have to go home, goodbye. If there were things to do, like we were trying to get postcards out or something, we're sending something out to the radio stations or whatever, some packages and the FedEx guy's coming at 6:30. Like I never cared about the time. I did what had to be done for that project. And that's how I am. And that's why working for a company isn't good for me, for a person like me, because I'll give everything I have to it. And that is better for entrepreneurship because it doesn't matter if you work for a company for the most part, it doesn't matter how hard you work. You can work really hard or you can just phone it in. What they really reward is that you show up every day and you're not a problem and you basically do what is expected of you. And I'm not saying that that's true for every single job and every single place, but in general, that's the vibe. And I've always kicked ass. And then I'm not saying, okay, I've had some problems, but in general, I've always kicked ass in jobs I've had because I have that extreme, like, let's jump in and do this shit. Like, let's do it. I want to learn it. I want to learn the music industry. And I would go to live shows after work And then I would go to the studio. So I got to see a lot of the recording studios in Los Angeles because I just kept it going. And I remember asking interns or, other people at work there, hey, you going to come to the studio after work? And they're like, oh, no, I'm really tired, but I'll see you tomorrow morning. And I remember just like going, God, I don't relate to that at all. Like, I'm tired, but whatever. So, yeah, so it's not really a surprise to me that I've burned out, and I've burned out more than once in my life. I was just thinking actually today when this whole thing came to my mind, that I actually remember burning out when I was around 20, which sounds weird because it's like, what would I be burning out from? But I bet you somebody listening to this can relate to what I'm saying. And I think because when my parents divorced, it was extremely stressful. And my mom went into kind of a depression. And it was very, like, we were very on our own. And I kind of grew up in a sort of rich area, but we weren't rich. So I had to kind of feel like I had to keep up with people. Keep up with my friends who had all the cute clothes and, I don't know, just everything, the cars, everything. And, that was me grade school and high school. And it was extremely taxing to me that I was constantly strategizing how to just stay out of people's crosshairs. Because, people, especially girls, they would sort of lock on and they would just start like a campaign against you. Like, why do you always wear those shoes? Or whatever, some stupid thing. And boys did it too. But I was constantly strategizing because I was smart enough to know that it was going on. Plus, I could sense it. And yeah, so anyways, I had a lot of different things going on. And so by the time I was 20, I had it. Like, I was exhausted and I couldn't figure out how to get to the entertainment industry too, because everybody after high school just went to their colleges and they were like, okay, so anyways, I'm going to get my business degree or whatever. And I was like, how am I going to be an actress? I don't know how this is going to work. How am I going to be in the entertainment industry? So I think I just got really depressed and like overwhelmed. And then I just had it because it was just more of the same. Like when you're hiking and you're like, okay, you look up and you're like, if I can just make it to the top of that part right there, I'll just push myself and then I'll be okay. And then like an hour later, when you make it to the top of that part, you realize there's another hill that's even bigger. That's what it felt like, I think, for me at that time. So when I think about the concept of balance, and when I think about that, I don't know. I just don't think that was possible for the way that I grew up. And that wasn't really my fault. I had nothing to do with that. That was the way that my environment was. My grandparents would come into town and they were so wealthy. And they would come into Scottsdale, Arizona, which is where I grew up, from Chicago. They would come in town and they would take us to like the nicest restaurants. And they would take us to the nicest department stores and just tell us whatever we wanted. We could have anything we wanted. They'd pick us up from school, take us back to their hotel because my mom would be working. And then we could have anything we want, any candy we want, anything we want, any games, anything. We could take naps or we could play. We could do whatever we want. And then we'd go to a really nice restaurant. And so I'd live this life for like 3 weeks at Christmas and 3 weeks at Easter. And then I'd go to Chicago in the summers and live that life for longer than just the 3 weeks. And they were such a bright part of my life, such a bright part of my just experiences of being a person, And it's just like, it was so weird though, because it added to that extremism that was going on in my life. And so there'd be this like starkness and emptiness the rest of the time. And then right after Christmas, I'd show up with like the baller clothes and like I'd know about all the best restaurants and I'd see some of my friends during Christmas out at like the top restaurants in Scottsdale. And it's like, it was weird. It was like I really lived that dual life. And so my life was never set up for balance. So then as an adult, as I started to kind of go in life, plus just my personality, like I was mentioning about the record label, I really like to experience things. Same thing happened when I worked at Paramount Pictures. And then I would work during the day, and it was stressful. Sometimes it wasn't, but sometimes it was. And I'd work the full shift. And then at night, I would go and I would work premieres or I would work other screenings for other departments or for our department. So I was still burning the candle at both ends, even at that job. Every job I've ever had, I've always done this kind of stuff. And I love that about myself. I love that I experience things and that I experience things fully, and that I feel like I cover more ground. So I could only work somewhere for like a year, but I feel like I've been there for 5 years because I absorb so much and I take on so much, and my eyes and my ears, everything are so wide open, and I experience so much. So for that, I love all of that. But it does take a toll on you after a while because I had no examples in my life of balance. I had no examples of anybody, I didn't know anybody who worked in the entertainment industry, for one, other than the people that I met. And so I didn't have any role models in that way. And you really do have to push yourself too. The industry as a whole, it's like being a stockbroker. There are certain industries that, by the nature of the industry, you have to be pushed. You have to be very driven. You have to give it your all. It's not a place where you can be like, yeah, I need to go home and I need to meditate and I need to go for a walk with the dogs. Like, you wouldn't survive in that environment. Like, it's so competitive and it's so fast paced that if you aren't keeping up with that, everything going on and excelling, even not only keeping up with it, but excelling, you will not stay in that environment for very long, which is probably good because, maybe it's not a healthy environment, but that's the other thing. So I'm drawn to this career that's even, not even set up for any other kind of life other than the life of being driven and be really pushing yourself out, beyond your comfort zone, way beyond. So that's the backdrop. But then I'm thinking about when I burned out right before Derek died. That was when we had a recording studio at our house and in Los Angeles. And I was really involved in the music industry with Dapo. And, we'd take meetings and different labels. And we knew a lot of the label heads and A&Rs and publishers and other songwriters that, are very well-known songwriters and artists and whatever. And it was great. And I really loved it. And I got really into it because I was trying to learn it. But it got to a point where I felt like that mountain feeling, where every time I'd go, okay, just get to that mountain, there'd be another mountain and another mountain. And it really wasn't even a mountain I meant to be on. Like, I really wanted to do more like film and sort of like maybe my YouTube channel, like more like connecting with people through that way. And I found myself really kind of being more of like a manager type person with Dapo. And that really wasn't what I wanted to do at all. But I love him and I love his music and I wanted to support him. And so I did it. And it really makes sense because I met him when I worked at the record label. So it's not like I was some person who didn't work in music and then I just kind of got into it. I met him from working at a record label. And so it made sense that I would step in that role and sort of do that for a while. But it just sort of took on a life of its own. And I feel like I'm feeling like now I'm looking back at sort of like reflecting on it, that I think that my path actually went a different way at some point. My spirit path was like, it turned, but I kept going because I wasn't connected to myself and I was connected to what I was seeing around me. And I was thinking, oh, I still have to keep going. Oh, there's this other project coming up. Okay, so Dapo's going to write on this album. Okay, so then I got to help set that up and I got to connect with that A&R and I got to connect with that songwriter. Oh, maybe I can bring this other songwriter in. So I was so in it that I didn't realize that my spirit went exit stage right, like about, 6 months ago. And then it was like 2 years ago. And I was running on fumes. It reminds me of the cartoons where they run off the cliff and they're still running until they look down and then they realize they're in the air and then they fall. That's kind of what happened with me. By the time I realized I was burned out, and I think this is true for everybody, I was so burned out. And I remember when there was a really clear moment. I always used to have a Christmas party every year. I loved my Christmas parties. They're just like the thing that I did. And I had a Christmas party and I was so tired that after I got dressed, it took everything in me to get dressed. I set everything up, did all the food, did all the decor, which is usually what gives me life because I love it. I love doing all that. But, it was like, I felt like everything I did was moving through mud. It was just everything took so much effort. And I remember after I got dressed, I just sat down on my bed and I started crying. And I begged God to give me energy so I could get through the party. Because all I wanted to do was go to sleep. And I don't know if you've ever been that tired, but I was so tired. And it wasn't physical tiredness. So, it wasn't like, oh, I just should have gotten more sleep. It wasn't that, because that's never really stopped me. I'm usually like an adrenaline girl. Like I can go and go and go and just get sleep as I get sleep. But this didn't matter how much I slept. It was a fatigue. I think I've looked it up. It's like adrenal fatigue. When you kind of live on that adrenaline for so long, it just kind of depletes. And that's exactly how I felt. I felt like there was nothing left inside of me. And it was scary because I couldn't even rally. I couldn't pull it together. Usually if I like have a glass of wine or I blast some music or I just go, all right, I got to get my energy going. I couldn't do it. It was like everything in me was like, nope, nothing. And I just begged God to help me get through. And every conversation I had, I felt like my speech was slurring. I felt like I was like, hey, how you guys doing? Yeah, I'm so happy you're here. I was like, God, what has happened to me? Oh my God. I didn't even recognize myself. I was like, what am I if I can't pull myself out of this? I feel like I'm, a stranger to myself. And so at some point, someone wanted a picture with me. And so I said, yeah, take one with my phone too. And so I gave this guy, and he was the only person I didn't know at my Christmas party. Every other person I knew. And this was a guy that brought a friend that he didn't even know that well. And so he's the one who took the picture because we wanted a picture with this guy. And so after I had my picture taken, I was just so tired. They were saying goodbye. And then after they left, I started looking for my phone. Actually, I think they were still there. I could not find my phone anywhere. So spoiler alert, that guy stole my phone. He stole my phone. And my friend, that I didn't know him that well, but we kind of knew each other through the internet. And I really liked him. I thought he was really great. But anyways, so I was like, look, your friend stole my phone, because I kept doing the find my phone thing. I had an iPhone and it wasn't showing up anywhere. And so I knew that they had it off. But I had it set to whenever they turn it back on, alert me. So at like 4 o'clock, and I knew they were leaving straight from the party to drive back to Arizona. So this was from LA, driving back to Arizona. And at about 4:30 in the morning or whenever it was, they turned the phone on and it binged in Phoenix. And I knew that it was them. I knew it was that guy. And so I'm no longer friends with that guy because he was like defending him. He's like, well, how do you know it's him? I'm like, you don't even know him. Why are you defending him? But anyways, the point is not to talk about find my phone or stupid friends, but it's to talk about how incredibly tired I was. And I could not remember where I put my phone. And I feel like almost like I was drugged. And the last time I remember having my phone was when that guy took my picture with my phone. And normally I'm very anal about it. Like I'm like, give me my phone back. I put it in the exact same spot, like in my pocket or in my hand. Like I'm very specific. So if I start to forget, it's probably because I trusted somebody and they took advantage of me, because it's happened again with keys and another time. So anyways, that's another story for another episode. But so I was extremely tired. Let's back out of that rabbit hole. I was extremely, extremely tired and I couldn't get out of it. And that was the Christmas before Derek died. So Derek died in August. So that was the Christmas before that. So yeah, I knew I was burned out. I knew that that's what it was. I knew that this wasn't even me anymore, that I wasn't going to be the way I was before. Like I didn't know if I'd ever recover. It felt forever. It didn't feel temporary, because no matter how much I would sleep, I'd still feel like that. And I thought, I guess this is the new me. I burned myself out completely. I'm done. I'm empty. Not thinking that I could refill, So I don't know. I mean, maybe it's a combination of really pushing myself and, using up my adrenaline. And I don't regret doing that, because I know I was trying to achieve something specific with Dapo, but there was a point where I think the road went a different way and I really didn't know how to change it. And I kept thinking, well, if we just go a little bit further, then we'll be able to like, pay off this thing and we'll be able to adjust that and move over here and do that. And I really couldn't see how it would work, like just stopping from where I was. And that's the thing. And you're so close to something changing your life when you're, at least in the entertainment industry, you're always so close to something so big that, Dapo has so many stories of so many close calls. One of them involves Beyonce, and like there was this whole big song thing happening. And anyways, there's been a lot of really big things, and I'm sure one day I'll tell you, but it was a lot. And it was so close that it was like, I kept thinking, God, if we could just get this one thing, because usually when you get something, then you have a lot of work coming to you. And then it's not as much, because Dapo had a really good attorney. I mean, he still does, but the attorney was there then. So it's like, if anything came along at that point, the manager isn't needed as much, or a management person or whatever, because he kind of negotiates his own stuff with his attorneys. So it was just like, okay, cool. I was more like strategizing stuff with him and trying to help him, set up appointments with songwriters and whatever. So anyways, yeah. So, so it was hard. It was hard for me to see, how I could change it. I really couldn't see it. And I knew I was kind of in trouble. And I thought every day I would think about it and I would go, how am I going to get out of this? How am I going to get out of this? What am I going to do? How am I going to shift out of this? What am I going to do? And so then I started helping Derek after he admitted to me that he was being beaten by his new wife and that she had threatened to kill him. So every day I was talking to him and I would think, okay, I got to get strong. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I got to get strong. And then in August, then he was killed. And so I was already weakened for, probably half a year or more, obviously. Well, at least 8 or 9 months. And then on top of that, when he died, I was just like, ugh, And so now that I'm fast forward, and now that I'm healed and I'm rebuilding my life and I'm launching all these different things, I am thinking about that. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I don't want to burn out like ever again, because you don't know how long it'll take you to come back. And for me, mine was also mixed in with trauma, the trauma of the way that Derek died, and then also the fact that he died, and then also grief, and then my brother dying a year later unexpectedly. So my burnout was mixed with things that felt, like someone twisting the sword that's already in you. So I can't say that how much of that and how long it took was all because of burnout. But it took so long for me to care about life anymore, to even want to do anything, that I don't ever want to get there again, other than obviously if something traumatic happens to me that has nothing to do with it. That's something different. But anything that I do, that I maybe am busy, putting myself out there too much, because I am very eclectic. And I'm going to talk about that in another episode. If you're like me, where you have a bunch of different eclectic dreams, and how should you handle that? Should you go for all of them, or should you one at a time, like they say, or whatever? So I am going to talk about that in an upcoming episode. It's on my list of episodes that I want to talk about, because I've written this whole list. Every time an idea comes to me, I'm like, boop, boop, boop. I write it down now. Anyways, so back to balance. So burning out, it's a topic that if you've burned out, you immediately understand what it is. If you've never burned out, you think you understand it, because you understand maybe conceptually, but you don't really understand it energetically in your body. You don't know what happens and how it's so unavoidable at a certain point. And then balance, I had this good analogy where I was thinking about, if you were balancing white paint with red paint and you were trying to stay very balanced about it, you would probably end up with pink paint, because you were trying to make sure there was a little bit of white and a little bit of red, and then it becomes pink. But what if you want red and white? You don't want pink. So is that the only other option, is to not be balanced? Like, is that the only other option, is to just be like, okay, I'm just going to be an extreme person. Sometimes I'm white, sometimes I'm red. I mean, maybe, but it depends on your perspective. Because if you're really close to the paper and you're putting white paint on the left side and you're putting red paint on the right side, you have to get really into the white paint and then you have to get really into the red paint. And so maybe it feels like while you're painting just bear with me, while you're painting the white paint, you are getting so into that you're kind of becoming an extreme, you're in that extreme. You're in the white part. And then when you're painting the red part, you're really in the red part. And so maybe, or if you're painting a mural on a wall, so maybe like for a week, you're only painting red. And so you might feel like, God, I'm so out of balance, man, because I'm only painting red. What happened to wanting to be balanced? But then if you get off the scaffolding and you walk back and, go a block away and you turn around and you look at it, the whole image is balanced. The white is balanced with the red. But when you're up close to it, it looks like all you're doing is white or all you're doing is red. Or like the first example, all of it's pink because you're so focused on making sure it's balanced on a micro level that you're mixing the paints together and you're creating some other kind of thing. So I think it's about your perspective and what it is you're creating and how you're looking at it. How far away are you getting from it? Do you want to have a balanced life, or do you want to have a balanced week or a balanced day? And I think for me, I want to have a balanced conscious experience, whatever conscious experience that is. So for the most part, it would probably be like more, like right now I'm thinking of all the things I want to do for 2021. So I want a balanced 2021. So I don't want to look back on this year and go, oh, I kicked ass in work and my health is shit and my relationships with my friends are shit and other things are shit, But so I know that these things are very, very important to me, these career goals that I have, but I don't want to do what I did before, which was make it everything. And then I have nothing on the other side. I don't want that. So in that way, I want it balanced. But that might mean 2 weeks I won't be able to see my friends, and I, might just only be able to go for a walk and not actually work out because I'm filming stuff. I'm batch filming videos for my YouTube channel or, whatever. But I definitely want to make sure I include some kind of physical activity. I don't want to take my health. I'm healthy, but I'm not healthy. Like I got to get in shape, but I don't want to take that for granted and just be like working like I used to. So I want to make sure there's certain things that I do that balance it out. But sometimes I'm going to need to focus to make certain things happen. And it will be quote unquote out of balance for a while. But I need to do that because the only way that my schedule will work is if I batch record videos. I don't know if I can do it with a podcast yet. I still am trying to figure it out because each one is like, for me, it's like channeling a message. And have you ever seen like a psychic or a channeler, like when they're doing it, they are kind of tired after a while and they need a break and they can't do one after the other, and they need to wait like a day or something. That's how I feel. I can't just churn out podcast. It's not the way it works for me. I don't know how it is for other people, but that's how it is for me. So I can't really batch record podcasts, but I can batch record videos. And that's what I'm working on right now. So yeah, sometimes it is going to get a little quote unquote unbalanced, but that's okay because the overall will be balanced. Does that make sense? Does any of this make sense? I feel like it does, but maybe it doesn't. I don't know. So what does being balanced mean for you? Do you need every day to be balanced so that maybe you have a certain amount of hours that you work, you have a certain amount of hours that you exercise, a certain amount of hours that you allow yourself to be free, like reading a book or watching a movie. And I think that's great. And I'm not saying I don't have days like that. I definitely do. And I do like thinking of that concept of like, I want to have a balanced day today. So when I wake up, I do all these different things and I have a balanced experience. And then by the time I go to bed, I feel very peaceful. But that's great. And I do have days like that. But for me, with the things that I'm doing, I do have these extreme experiences. But as long as now I look at it as like, at some point I need to rebalance that out for the bigger picture and take time off for myself. So for instance, if I'm going to work really hard for 2 weeks, if I'm going to do these batch recording videos, then I need to make sure that the couple weeks after that there's a lot of downtime in my schedule, like where I'm building my inspiration back up and where I'm filling back up with just that feeling of life again. And I'm not forcing myself to do. I can just be. And that's really important. So that's how I would achieve that balance. I would also, if I knew that I'd during the batch recordings, I didn't see people. I would probably schedule some things where I could go have lunch with people or go hang out with people. I know with COVID, it's different, but some version of that. And I would just make sure I could do something with my friends or with my family or whatever so that I can kind of get that back and not let too much time go by. Because that's the other thing. I let too much time go by before. And I'm really glad because I forced myself to visit people when it was really hard for me. When I was like, it was an awful time, I forced myself. And people were mad at me. I was like, whatever, I got to do this. And I look back and go, thank God I did that. I didn't do it as much as I should have. I think I should have done it more, to be honest with you. But I remember the last time I saw my brother was maybe it was that Christmas. No, it was the following Christmas from the burnout Christmas. I did not have a party the next year because I was totally like traumatized from that guy stealing my phone. And so that year I went to Arizona. I just had a really strong feeling and I spent a bunch of time with my brother. And that was the last time I saw him alive. He died in February. So I did force myself to go, visit my friends Jerry and David in Northern California. And, I've done that over the years and I'm glad I have. I'm really glad I have. I've never regretted that, but it wasn't easy. It wasn't like, oh yeah, I'll just go over there. I mean, it was a big deal to take that time out, to spend that money, to not be doing, what I was already doing. Like I was really hard. So I don't know. I just want to get you thinking about what is balance. And instead of just believing what they show us in commercials, and they always show some girl doing yoga poses, and then they talk about live a balanced life. I don't know what that means. Okay. I don't know what that means, what they think it means, but it got me thinking about what it means to me. And I think that's good to think about that because I also think that burning out sucks. And I hated burning out. It was such a horrible feeling. It lasted for so long and it's not good. And like I said, I think maybe I just didn't follow my spirit at some point. And so maybe a balanced life means I stop and I just reconnect to myself to make sure I am listening to myself and not just going along with what's around me. But I'm actually like going, okay, I know this is crazy, but I need to move to, Boston or whatever. I don't know. I almost said Wyoming. I think I know why I'm saying Wyoming, because people like Kim Kardashian and Jeffree Star, they all are getting these places in Wyoming. And I don't know, it just keeps showing up in the news. And so I'm thinking, oh, that's weird, Wyoming. But yeah, I finally discovered where that's coming from. But yeah, so I want you to think about that. Like, I really think it'd be helpful to just think deeper about what it means to have a balanced life, and also think about balanced. If that's kind of, I don't know, I don't like that word. I wish there was another way to look at it. But I think connected. I think that's more important, don't you? Like, it's more important to stay connected to because I was thinking, if you want to be successful in, business or in the world, in the physical world, you don't necessarily need to be connected to your spirit. You don't. And this is how burnout happens. You don't have to be connected to your spirit at all. You can be, hardcore manifestation focused, like make shit happen every day, and you can make big things happen in your life. And I know I've manifested some really great experiences for myself. But if you want to feel that success that you create in your life, if you want to feel fulfillment from that, and you want to feel nurtured by the things that you create, then you do need to be connected to your spirit. You do need to be connected to the deeper thing, because otherwise you're creating a bunch of shit that has no connection to your ultimate thing. And so that's why it's important to kind of check in with ourselves and not just be so hell-bent on creating, or having all these experiences. Because yeah, that's all great and dandy. But if you've ever been in the situation where you've been able to create stuff, but you don't feel anything for it, you feel no connection to it at all, that's like hell. I've experienced that. I remember when I moved to San Francisco in my early 20s, it was like, I told everybody it felt like I had created this kick-ass life. Like, I loved my life visually. Like, when I looked at where I lived, who I lived with, what my schedule was, the things we did, like everything about it was perfect. But there was some part of it that wasn't like reaching me. And it was kind of like watering a plant, a potted plant, and you're watering it and the water isn't going into the soil and it's just going off the sides of the pot. it's not actually absorbing in. That's what I felt like. And I started this whole journey of like trying to figure out, how do I get it so that the water goes into my roots? And so I finally understand what I need to do for that. It's like 4,000 years later. But I know it is about checking in with myself. And so maybe that's another way to look at the word balance. I don't know. Whenever like I said, when I hear the word balance, I picture a girl eating her granola bar, doing yoga poses. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't relate to that. And even if I did that, I would probably do it in a way that would make me unbalanced. So, yeah. So I think of it as connected. So I just need to reconnect with myself, get in touch with my spirit, just get in touch with my, it doesn't even have to be all mystic like that. Just get in touch with that other part of me that finds meaning and connection in life. And just check in with it and make sure that that part of me is okay with all this and wants what I'm doing. Because our bodies speak to us. Our bodies are our wisdom. And if we have like stomach aches or our throat, our glands are swollen, like I usually check in with that and see like, this is what's happening lately. And that and dreams, whatever our dreams are at night. So those are the two things I sort of check in with myself about and try to figure out where I'm at. But anyways, on that note, I hope you're doing well. I hope that if you're not in balance, that you're just getting really into the red paint or the white paint and you're living your life, man. And I will talk to you guys next week. Thank you. Bye-bye. If you're a creative entrepreneur and you want to be part of a community where you can learn different things like setting up a YouTube channel or getting started on Clubhouse, what is it? How do you do it? All those different things, then I invite you to join the Sky Cafe membership site. So this has been a dream of mine for a long time, and I'm finally manifesting it. Right now, for founding members, it's only $14 a month, and that price will go up as the library fills. But if you're a founding member, you lock that rate in. And so far, we did setting up a YouTube channel, little mini mastermind, and then I'm going to be doing one next week about podcasts, how to set up a podcast from beginning to end, like the whole entire show, like how you do it. And anything that people want to know about, we sort of put it on the calendar, and then I do it in a mini mastermind. But that's done through a Facebook group, a private Facebook group. And there's many other things coming. So I invite you to go to theskycafe.com to check it out and see what it's all about. And then also I'm going to be adding an incentive program where if you're a member for 3 months, you unlock certain things. 6 months, you unlock certain things. So like maybe one-on-one coaching, an hour call with me, or some other type thing like that. So go ahead and head over to theskycafe.com and check it out.